one.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to DAS's number one best trader competition. This is our spring novice competition. It's week 4 review and winner announcements. And as always, my name is Michael DeGioia, Director of Educational Services and licensed professional trader. I'm joined here with my co-host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter from NASDAQ. And in the news this week, Jill, tech giants are really showing their dominance by blowing out earnings results. Tell us a little bit about the earnings results so far. I mean, obviously, we had one loser, which is Netflix. Not surprisingly, couldn't continue to keep up their subscriber growth. So tell us a little bit about the rest of the tech giants.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, just take a look at what Amazon and Apple delivered. Those were tremendous beats. I don't think anyone expected them to outperform the way that they did. I think what headwinds they could potentially be facing is, can this be done in a post-pandemic world? And I think that's really what the question is, but I feel like these questions have been put towards Apple and Amazon every single quarter for the past, I don't know, 15 years. They keep asking the same thing. Can they continue to deliver these results? And they do. And just the way that they're evolving their businesses on more of the cloud and the enterprise front, that's what's helping to build numbers there. I think, Microsoft, Nadella is doing a fabulous job. He's done a really great job, right-sizing that ship. Google, another great quarter. So while they beat expectations, you did see some of that sell the news in the market. So I really think it's going to be a matter of what they can deliver going forward, because at the end of the day, the Apple, Microsoft, they're not ridiculously expensive.
Absolutely.
And from a valuation perspective.
Amazon also had great results, and that's because people are spending their surplus money that they built up during the pandemic, all the pandemic lockdowns, et cetera. What do you think about ExxonMobil? That was our number one pick from the beginning of the year. What do you think about ExxonMobil?
It's so interesting. I just had this conversation with our senior index specialist, Mark Merrick, when we were talking through our NASDAQ 100 hit. And traditional energy companies had a lot of one-time write-downs, which is what you have indicated here. So, and we saw that with more traditional economy stocks, whether it's in a company like an AT&T, whether it's the energy companies, which of course got hit by the pandemic, now starting to see some turnaround in demand. But on the technology side, the new economy stocks, like Zoom as an example, all the cloud stocks, did not have these massive one-time write-downs. So you're still seeing, regardless of the rotation trade, I'm talking about this from a longer-term perspective, when you look at full year 2020 results, the NASDAQ 100 companies, the new economy companies, weren't getting these one-time hits. So it makes you think longer term, where these companies fit within the economy. So I thought that was a really interesting data point that our team had pointed out. Now, of course, it's good to see ExxonMobil have profitable earnings results. Goldman Sachs was out with a really bullish note this week on the oil sector in general. So, it could be a turnaround trade, certainly in the near term, but I still think the older economy energy stocks are still going to have to grapple with what happens with renewable energy and just how our energy infrastructure evolves. So it'll be interesting to see just how, from a longer term perspective, that they adjust their businesses around that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think of Biden's first 100 days? I'd love to hear your take on Biden's first 100 days. The market is running, the economy is going.
Yeah.
We beat all the vaccination goals, over 200 million people vaccinated.
Yeah, it's great to see the vaccination progress. There has been a lot of structure put in place over the past 100 days. I am surprised by how progressive he's actually leaning. I think the tax plans and the stimulus plans are a little bit more progressive than perhaps center than many had expected. That certainly was a surprise to me. So the market seems to largely have not reacted to it. I mean, it had that reaction intraday, which of course it does when the headlines first came out. But I think, for those of us that live in blue states like New York, New Jersey, who got crushed with the SALT tax reductions, and those are not apparently going to be repealed, then you have certainly, a more in-depth tax plan coming out. It kind of seems like putting more salt on the wound, if you will, pardon the pun, So a little bit surprised to see just how progressive. And the other thing that does concern me is, we took a look at just what has been passed in this 100 days. I believe it's been 7 or 8 pieces of legislation, certainly a ton of executive orders. But the thing is, executive orders aren't law, and they can be overturned and rewritten with new administration. So really what happens on the legislative front is going to be key. And that's really where the challenge is, because there's more gridlock than there ever was before. So getting portions of these plans passed through, that's where the challenge is going to be. You can't just kind of executive order your way through legislation. I mean, it does require work from the lawmakers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good points, Jill. Let's jump right ahead, go into the competition week overview. Jill, thank you very much.
Okay.
Actually, no, let's go through the winners and of the competition for the week. So we have Best 536 from the Dash Trader community, who was up $478 today. What was interesting about the competition this week, and really this competition overall, all 4 weeks, is that we only have 3 winners, 3 people in the top 10 that have positive results. And that's kind of, we've never had a competition like this. Where you only see like 3 people that are positive, everybody else is negative. What are your thoughts on why we don't have more positive traders? The market's at all-time highs, markets are up.
Well, you know what? And we saw this in the beginning of the pandemic when we start to get volume and volatility back into the market. And that's why everyone had such a fabulous 2020. I think what we're seeing now is it's a very selective either sector or stock picking market, where not everything is moving in one way or the other, and we don't have that volume, we don't have the volatility to pick and choose those spots. So I feel like if you're not in the right thing, it's just very discernible as it was relative to what we saw in 2020. And I think I said this at the beginning of the competition, because we only had like 1 or 2 people positive then too. So if you're not in the right spot, I think that could be what's leading up to some of the losses. I also feel too, and we touched upon this before, this is an earnings season where good news, there's a lot of sell the news out there. So I think that could be part of the challenge as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. The markets have certainly been very turbulent, and certainly nobody knows whether they're going to be going up higher or dropping down. There's been a lot more volatility, and certainly that has affected our results somewhat. So I'm going to jump into the top stocks just to go through and show them to you, Jill, before you cut out. It's MOTS, MVIS, OCGN, NEO, which is almost always on the top. I think that's because it has a large float. Why is NEO always, in your opinion, always one of the top? Is it just because people like to trade it? Is it popular stock?
I think that's part of it. I think there's been so much news with EV over the past quarter. It's very liquid, and I feel like that's also one of those crowd trades where if you get some momentum behind it, or if it's making the rounds on whatever thread or social media, people can get in and out and make some quick hits with it. And I think what's interesting when you look at NEO, when you look at Tesla, there is so much competition that's coming out, whether it's Ford, whether it's GM, Volkswagen. China has a lot of EV makers. So I know, and what I really think will be interesting to watch in China is it depends what the government, what company it gets behind, because that could really make or break it for some companies. I think the interesting trades here are going to be where the shortages are occurring, where the supply chain is. Some rare earth trades could be interesting as it relates to all of this. Okay. I think that's what it's.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jill. We're going to jump to the charts now. Have a great weekend, Jill.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
All right, everybody, back here with the charts. Here I am on my DAS Trader software, and just going to show everybody how to configure their chart screen and their chart area. So let's remove the bottom chart area. I'm also going to remove some of my indicators. And actually remove my price by volume. Okay, so now I just have a basic chart, and I have my my price, I have my moving averages. I have 3 different moving averages on my chart. I have a 10 period, 20 period, and 50 period moving average. So 3 different moving averages on my chart. I'm going to add a new section to my chart just by going chart area, new area before, and I'm going to do chart area, new area after. I'm going to move my chart area down. And I'm going to insert the RSI. So now if you notice, we have our RSI indicator, which is set to 14, which has both oversold and overbought regions. Now, generally the way that you use your RSI is you draw trend lines on it for early trend indicators. That would be trend line breaks. Okay, so that's how I use the RSI. I use trend lines and trend line breaks on the RSI indicator. Now I'm going to pop on one other indicator into my chart section. And then I'm going to jump to the stocks that the 5 stocks that the #1 best traders most active for the day. I'm going to put on the MACD, which is actually our featured indicator for the month. Hold on one second, just looking for the MACD. I think it's up on the top. Moving average convergence divergence, there it is. All right, so there we go. We have our featured indicator for the month, the MACD. And if we're looking at it here on the S&P, you could see that the MACD signal line crossed over and went positive on the histogram. This is called the MACD histogram. And right there is the signal line. And that's the move up, right? Once the signal line, the red line crossed over the green line crossed over the red line. The signal line gives you that trending move. That's the swing size of the move, okay? And once it crosses back below the signal line, or the green signal line crosses below the red signal line, the histogram goes negative, okay? And that is the signal that the MACD has turned negative, and you should be getting out of the trade on the signal from the signal line. Okay, and that's how you use your MACD indicator for, I would call it a decision support tool for getting out of a swing trade. And this is the RSI for triggering a swing long potentially. On the swing long, it would be a trend line break and fade. Okay, that would be the trend line break and fade. Okay, well, that's not the fade, but it would be the trend line break anyway. All right, now let's just jump in. I'm going to remove these chart areas just to remember how to remove the chart areas. Remove area. remove area. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the stocks from the number one best trader competition. Number one, MOTS. Okay, this is one of our one-day gap and goes, gap up and kind of run up and then fade down. MIVS, very similar chart, I believe, on MIVS. Actually, MIVS is a gap down onto support and then fade up. But it's been a popular stock all week because it has had a lot of action. Actually, it was last week as well. It's had a lot of action after it broke out from $10 all the way up to $28, back down to $14. So it's had a tremendous amount of price action. Next one is OCGN. OCGN. Pretty much another one of these one-hit wonder stocks, about $12, breaking out from 7, running up to 12 over the course of the competition. Lots of volume, lots of activity since it broke out. Prior to that, had no volume, no activity. I mean, pretty much very, very low volume or low activity. But once it started getting a little traction, breaking out, then certainly the volume has come in. And this is NEO, which is always one of our top traded stocks in the competition. Okay, and this is TAOP. Actually, this was I apologize, guys. This is the final week of the competition. So these are our winners. I'm sorry, I had a little bit of a distraction. So our number one best trader competition winner is Best 536 with a $478 gain today, $16,000 in gains total. Best trader 529 is number 2 in the competition with $1,227. And then Best 970 with a winner, number 3 winner with $381 in gains. So those are our 1, 2, and 3 winners. Great job to everybody. And then, of course, finishing up our top traded stocks is TAOP. TAOP, another one of these one-hit wonder stocks, just kind of pops and drops and has faded down to $6.80 from $8. And that's the top stocks in the number one best trader competition. So a big congratulations. I'm going to just switch back to my screen share. Okay. So guys, hopefully you can see the presentation again. Congratulations to our winners of our spring competition. I'm just going to go back one more time and congratulate them again. That's congratulations to Best 536. Next week or the following week, we will have them on, hopefully. Great job in winning the competition, being one of the only of 3 traders who actually had final gains for the competition. Everybody else from number 4 all the way down to number 10 were actually not profitable, which is very, very odd for the competition. And certainly great job to number 2 and number 3, who also managed to eke out a profit. And again, great job to all of our competition winners. If you haven't already done so, follow us on social media, certainly Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. That's at onebesttrader.com. And certainly you can follow us at Dash Trader, at LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you very much, everybody. See you all in 2 weeks.